Alright, this is John Cola with OKRaw.com. Today I have another exciting episode for you, and we're here with Don Bennett, DAS. He's been doing raw foods for over 20 years now. I've been doing it for 18. His website is health101.org. And why we're here today is we're here to share with you guys our opinions about a little thing that's commonly said. Raw is law, meaning, you know, either you have to eat all raw or you're all cooked, right? Like all these extremes, is it black or is it white, right? Well, for me personally, and I don't know what Don thinks yet, but we'll see. You know, for me personally, it's not about black or white. Now, while I eat 99.999% raw foods for the last 18 years, you know, that's what I choose to do. I don't expect anybody to do what I do. What I do teach and what I do preach is that I want people to eat more fresh fruits and vegetables, you know, eliminate and absolutely minimize processed foods and animal foods. And that's what I strive for. I want to teach people the best of what I know, and the best of what I know, the shortest way to getting to your goal is a straight line. You know, I'm not taking people zigzags, man. You know, I know that growing your own food is the best. I teach people how to grow their own food. I don't advocate people go to the grocery store. Now, if you can't grow your own food, if you don't have farmers markets, or you don't have farms in the area, of course, go to the grocery store. It's the best you can do. One of the other principles I teach is good, better, best. You always want to try to do the best you can. And you know, if you can't get fresh fruits and vegetables all year, definitely other plant foods are better than eating, you know, animal products. Definitely whole foods are better than eating a pizza from Domino's, even if it is vegan, you know. And I don't have to tell you guys this. You guys know. So Don, what is your opinion of this raw is law concept, or 100% or nothing?
John, I couldn't have said it better myself. That's it. There's nothing else left to say. Bye. No, I'm kidding. You know, the first thing you need to do is to think about how important your health is to you. Before you can start making any decisions about what you want to strive for, how important is your health to you? What do you want the odds to be of you never getting a diagnosis of something serious? Because every day you're alive, you're going to have a level of health. What do you want that level of health to be? Every day you're alive, you have one. What do you want it to be 30 years from now, 40 years from now? You've got to start investing for that now. So you have to decide, what do you want? Do you want the best? And it's one thing to shoot for the best. And if you can achieve it, that's great. Some people are in situations where it's easier for them to achieve it. It's easier for them to eat all raw. And by the way, you said 99.9% raw. That's better than me, man. I was 99.832 or something like that. So you got me beat. And the reason why I had to figure that out is because somebody was accusing me recently on one of the blogs. Oh, you're not all raw. You eat, you know, something that's like mangoes that have been dipped in boiling water, you know, so they're heat treated.
I consider those raw.
Well, of course they're raw. Now, yeah, the boiling water may have damaged a little bit of nutrients just barely under the skin. So that's why I say, okay, I'm not 100%, I'm 99.99534 or something like that, you know. But it's ridiculous. It's all about intent. What is your intent? If your intent is to eat the healthiest diet possible, let's not give it a label. Let's not call it raw or mostly raw or this or backup or that. What do you want? You want to eat the healthiest diet you can possibly eat. So you do the best you can do. Now, my point about doing the best you can do is some people don't know what their best is until they try. A lot of times they'll think, well, I'm not going to be able to do that. If I had $1 for every time someone told me I'm not going to be able to eat a raw food diet, no more meat, no more, and now today they're doing it, they're so happy, they thank me profusely for encouraging them and supporting them to get to that point. So some people, some health practitioners that'll give people like an easy way out, you know, there was a raw food practitioner who used to say, you know, that 80% raw, 20% cooked. 80% raw, 20% cooked is what they advocated, but what he would say in the same breath, in the same paragraph, in the same conversation is, but 100% is best. But if you can do 80% raw and 20% cooked, that's backwards from the way everyone else eats. You're going to do a lot better, and you're going to have improvements. Now that's great. Improvements are wonderful. I don't want just improvements. I want the best health my DNA will allow me to have. There's a huge difference between improvement and the best health that my genetics will allow me to have. So that was my focus the whole time. What do I have to do, you know, to have the best health possible, and then can I do that? And when I counsel people, same thing. First decide what kind of health do you want? Do you want the best health, or do you want like slightly better than you have now? or better than someone else, but I want the best health. And people said, yeah, I like the best health too, if I can do it. If I can do it. So there are ways you can do it. I don't just sell people a program like to make it easy. That's how a lot of marketeers do it. That here's the easy program. Just shoot for this, do that. You can still have your cake and eat it too. Sometimes literally, you can have cake. Or you can eat, on a raw food diet, you can eat burgers, pizza, pasta, cookies, cakes, and you never have to worry about, carbs, calories, protein, and fat. This is nonsense. This is just stuff designed to sell people a program that's easy to follow.
So Don, let's talk about goals. Like, you said your goal is to live as healthy as possible. What if somebody's goal is to run a 10K marathon and they said, Don, you can't run a 10K marathon. You can't keep up with me, man. That means you're unhealthy. Does that mean you're unhealthy or what? And would somebody that wants to run a 10K marathon eat your same diet, or would they have to eat more bananas and more dates and more calories?
The way I look at that is this. I get when I was figuring this out for myself, by the way, there was no internet yet. It was pointless to go to a library to try and get any kind of books on health. So I started, what are the tools I have in my toolbox? I have logic, common sense, rational thinking, independent thought, very important, and don't let my judgment be colored by any biases that I have, because the biases that I have are not ones I'm born with. They're from listening to other people and doing like everyone else wants to do. So get those biases out of there, recognize them. So what do I, what is it that I have to do? How would I have done something millions of years ago or a long, long time ago? Would I have run long distances? Well, no, there wouldn't have been any reason to. Look at little kids today, they don't do it, and if they don't do it, there's no reason to do it. They'll sprint and stuff like that. We've talked about that before. So when somebody accused me recently, oh, you couldn't even keep up with what's her name in this 5K race. I'm like, well, I've never run a 5K race. So first of all, that was not even true. But I wouldn't run a 5K race. You challenged me to run a 5K race. Why? I probably wouldn't even be able to finish it. I'm not trained to run a 5K race. If I trained, I could run a 5K race and do it really well. But no, I sprint. I can sprint. I'm better at sprinting than some people are running. People who are long distance runners and they're really good at it, I can beat them sprinting. They can beat me long distance running, which is a more important thing as a survival skill or a survival tactic, to be able to sprint real fast or to run a long distance. I don't know, I think sprinting would serve us better. Like if you see a child about to run into the street, I think it's more important to sprint to get to that child and grab just before the car runs the child over than it is to run a long distance. What does that possibly serve? It's been proven that it's more efficient on the body to walk from point A to point B than it is to run from point A to point B. Because think about it, when you're running, there are periods of time that you are off the earth. You have elevated yourself off the earth. No part of you touches the earth. When you're walking, you're always touching the earth. Your weight is always being supported by your musculature, right? And you're just walking, and walking is just a series of catastrophes narrowly avoided when you think about it, because you're always falling over, but you swing a leg out to catch you, so that's what walking really is. So it's much more efficient to walk, and I like efficiency. We want our cars to be as efficient as possible, don't we? So why wouldn't we want our bodies to be as efficient as possible?
All right, so you just heard that both Don and I eat a 99% plus raw foods diet. Now, we don't expect any of you guys to do it, but we have important and strong reasons and why we do it personally. I mean, I almost lost my life. I'm doing this to save my life, because if I compromise and don't have the highest level of health, I feel, based on what the doctors told me, that I have complement immune deficiency, which is a chronically weak immune system that they blamed on my genes. If I don't do this to the best of my ability, I could end up in the hospital and lose my life. So, this is not something I'm just doing to run 10Ks or, do this crazy stuff. I'm doing this for my health, much like Don. And many people in the raw foods world, or that eat a fruit and vegetable based diet, may do it for different reasons and not for their health, not to save their life, or not for longevity, or not for any other reason. So Don, what's some reasons why you might want to strive to eat the highest percentage raw as possible? And is eating 80% raw and 20% cooked the same as eating 100% raw? I mean, will you get the same benefits?
Well, no. I mean, anybody with half a brain can just understand that there's no possible way that a diet of 80% raw and 20% cooked food is going to give you the same health benefits as a diet of 100% raw food. That just doesn't make any sense. Your logic dictates no. There's no possible way. But some people are trying to give that impression that is, going from a diet of 80% cooked food and 20% raw to a diet of 80% raw food and 20% cooked like I said, there'll be tons of improvements, and improvements are great. And some people judge the diet on the improvements, like, wow, I got so many improvements. I cured this, I cured that. I'm sticking with 80-20, 80% raw, 20% cooked. But is that the best you can be? Is that investing for your future health? Well, no, because what we're designed to. If we were designed for 80% raw and 20% cooked, that'd be different. Then I'd be advocating an 80-20 diet today. But I'm not. That's not what we're designed to eat. So it's important to, if you want the best health possible, you have to do what your body requires. You have to give your body what it requires, and it doesn't require cooked food. Now, that's not to say that cooked food doesn't have its place. If you're I don't recommend anybody go from a fast food-based diet to a 100% raw diet overnight. That might put you in the hospital, and that's going to set you up for failure because your detox will be so terrible, it won't be tolerable, and you'll just go back to the fast food diet, and everything will feel fine again, and you'll just surmise that, well, I guess I'm just designed for a fast food diet, a fast food based diet, which isn't the case. So there's a transition period, but there's a difference. When you talk about transition foods, or some people call it a backup plan. I don't like the term backup plan because that's like one plan instead of another plan. No, it should be one plan. You need one plan, and within that plan, you have transition foods, you have second best foods that you can fall back on temporarily. But when people say backup plan, a lot of people are adopting this backup plan, and they're on it for the rest of their lives on this backup plan.
It's their only plan.
That's not the idea. So I don't like calling the backup foods of the backup plan. I like calling them what they actually are in reality. They're second best foods. They're second best foods. If fruits are the primary food, the food we're designed for, anything else is second best. And there's also third best and fourth best because cooked potatoes and cooked pasta are not the same thing. You can't put them in the same category. One definitely has to be better than the other. Proof of that, I can go out and find potatoes in the wild. But I have looked and I find no pasta out there in the wild. That's a processed food. So there's a big difference between processed food, which is now going to be on your third tier. If it's vegan, plant-based, that's a third tier food. Your second tier food, your second best food, is natural foods that are plant-based, but you have to kind of steam them or cook them really to be able to eat them properly. I mean, you could eat some potatoes raw, but it'd be actually easier on you just to steam them a little bit. And so these are part of a transition diet. Not necessarily if you're in a cold climate, because you can still eat a fruit-based diet. If you're in a cold climate, there are ways to do it. People are very successful doing it. So that's not really the issue. So there are ways to incorporate the diet that you want to get to. You just got to keep your eyes on the prize and keep moving forward to work at it, and not say that some cooked foods are okay in the diet. They have their place for certain. If you go to a friend's house and that's all they have for you is baked potatoes or something, and that's all there is to eat, then you got to make a decision. Do you piss them off and say,
yes,
no,
I would.
Well, some people would, but if you're still transitioning, why not have, you're still transitioning. Me, if I were to eat a baked potato now, it would knock me on my ass. I couldn't do it because it would just make me feel like this. I'd be on oh man. I'd know it, I'd feel it. And some people...
Yeah, I've experienced it, actually.
Some people said to me today, they made a point, they said, I don't want to go all raw because I've heard you get so clean and so super healthy that if you then have to go back and eat some cooked food, it just totally devastates you. I'm like, well, yeah, you can look at it from that direction, but not... I wouldn't say don't do that because you want to be able to go back and eat something. So
that's not as good for you.
Yeah, so I don't want to have the best health possible because what if I ever have to eat some cooked potatoes or something like that? No, you just have the best health possible, and then if you have to go back and eat some cooked potatoes, that's one thing. But cooked pasta is quite another thing. So it's just there's a place for everything in there. You just have to decide what's your primary diet. We even have a primary diet and a secondary diet. Humans do. We're omnivores. So our primary diet is fruit. Our secondary diet that we can survive on is other things other than fruit. We obviously, throughout the millennia, have figured out how to cook animals and eat them. We can survive on them. But John, surviving is not the same as thriving. Thriving. And people say, well, no, I'm thriving on this 80-20 diet, 80% raw, 20% cooked. I'm thriving. I'm like, really? How long have you been doing it? Oh, I've been doing it 6 months now. You're not going to know if you're thriving on it for 40 years. So keep doing it for 40 years. Then we'll see how it turns out for you. If you die of old age with in your sleep, okay, of nothing, none of the preventable diseases that we have today, you had a nice quality of life, then 80-20 worked for you. But if it doesn't work for you and you're dying at 75 instead of at 95 or 105, you're not going to have access to a time machine to come back to 2013 or 2014 and try something different. So that's why it underscores the importance of making correct decisions now. And that sounds very logical, but the only problem, the only obstacle to making correct decisions now is there's some health educators out there who are making that hard for you to do because they're just trying to make it easier for you to follow, and that's the difference.
Wow. So Don, I know many people out there might be thinking, okay, Don, you talked about those best foods and the classes of foods. Let's share those with the viewers now.
Well, of the caloronutrients, the ones that can give you calories for fuel, what are they? They're just carbs, fat, and protein. Now, carbs are what your body is designed to use. That's what your cells are designed to run on. So just by physiology, it just dictates that carbs are the thing that you go for. And I don't think we get much disagreement with that at all. Although there was that neurosurgeon that just came out and said, no, you want a no-carb diet. It's not even a low-carb diet, it's a no-carb diet. You want your diet all fat, 100% fat. Well, it won't be 100% fat because there'll be some protein. But you don't want carbs. Carbs are bad, they are evil, That's absolutely ridiculous. If you follow that, you may have some improvement just because you're coming from some really bad processed food that you're eating, but it's not going to get you the best health you're capable of having. So carbs rule, basically, carbs rule. But within the carbs category, there are good, better, and best carbs. The best ones are the ones that you can eat without having to cook them. And they're delicious, and they put a smile on your face, and you can make a meal out of it. So this right away eliminates a bag of Domino sugar, because you can't make a meal out of a bag of Domino sugar. But some people say, well, it's a carbohydrate, and I love that word, I need to put it in my smoothie, because if not, I don't get enough calories. And I scratched my head, I said, well, did you have your stomach stapled or something? Because let's get those staples out of there if that's the case. No, it wasn't that. It's just I run a marathon every 5 minutes. I do a marathon, 20 marathons a day I do. And they're running so much, they're burning so many calories that, yeah, they need to have that extra, the extra calories in their smoothies and stuff. But that's not saying that you need those extra calories. It's saying that you're overactive. It's not that you're undercarbed, rather. You're overactive. So that's a red flag that you should bring your activity level down, not bring your Domino sugar level up. That's the thing. Now people, well, I wouldn't do Domino sugar. No, mine is a processed Himalayan thing. It's been blessed by a crystal. It's all that stuff. And there's very little difference between the two. So if you find that you need to have unnatural processed carbs in your diet to get enough calories, you're doing something not right. You got to really look at that. So now fat. I was having this conversation the other day because someone was saying, well, how many calories are there in a banana? Well, it's 100 calories for this size banana. Really? But the banana is about 95-5-5 when you look at the ratio of carbs to fat to protein. So you're not going to use the 5% of fat and the 5% of protein as fuel, are you? That's going to be used for fat purposes and protein purposes. So when you're trying to figure out these calories thing, it can be a slippery slope, especially if someone's saying, everybody, every woman, I don't care if you're 5 foot or 6 foot, you need 2,500 calories. Well, that doesn't make any sense to me either. That might be the subject of another interview.
It's going to be another video, okay. Yeah. All right, Don. So one of the things I noticed, and I don't know if it was the same for you, like when I got into raw, I said to myself, okay, John, you're going to go 100% raw, cold turkey, and just go for it, because for me, it's either about living or not living. And, nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. In the younger years, actually, after a big breakup and stuff, I ate some baked potatoes and stuff, and I noticed after I eat cooked food, number one, the next day, my energy level was down in the tanks. So if you want low energy, eat some cooked foods after you've been eating raw foods for a while, because what you'll find, or what I found, is that my energy level was so high, and when I ate things that weren't as good as what I was wanting to eat, like cooked stuff, it brought my energy level down significantly. And the other thing I've learned is that, after being on an all raw diet for a period of time and doing this, I learned that, even after like the next day after eating the baked potatoes, like that taste or sensation or something would be in my mind that said, John, you gotta eat some more baked potatoes. They were really good. And then like the second day, I still wanted more, but I'm like, man, must resist, can't eat anymore. And then maybe after the third or fourth day, like it was gone. I just didn't desire any more baked potatoes, right? Because I just don't like feeling how I felt when I ate them. And I want you guys to kind of be more in touch with your body and feel how you feel. I mean, maybe make a food journal. Today I ate 5 apples for lunch, and afterwards, man, I had energy to run a marathon, or I had energy to do whatever I needed to do on the computer, and man, today I have a baked potato, and I wanted to take a nap. And I want you guys to kind of take a journal and take notes so that you guys know what the food's doing to you. So what I want to do next, actually, with Dawn is ask him Don, is like if you're going to eat 80% raw and 20% cooked, because I know a lot of you guys may not want to eat all raw or have a desire. I personally believe it's easier to eat all raw than be on some wishy-washy kind of thing back and forth, because if you got that cooked food flavors in your mouth, you're always going to want to go for it, because I mean, in some ways it is satisfying. So number one, Don, do we need to eat cooked foods? And number two, what's the good, better, and best cooked foods if somebody did choose and want to eat some cooked foods? Because we want to provide you guys with options. Obviously, we say 100% or as close to you could get to 100% is optimal, but we know that everybody out there is not going to do 100%. You know, as teachers in the movement, we strive to teach the best of what we know, because once again, we're giving you the shortcut to 2 lines, and we're not going to take you around some maze to get to where you really want to be.
Right. First of all, you got to distinguish need from want. So, you know, if you're eating, coming from a cooked food diet, you may want to continue to do that because that's what you're used to doing, and paradigm shifts are difficult. Need is a whole different story. So there might be some situations where you need to eat, you know, continue eating some cooked food for a while just to keep detox down. Because if you've been eating a heavy cooked food diet for years and years and years, decades, and then you switch overnight, you see the wisdom of going to a fruit-based diet, to what you're designed to eat, and you do it overnight. Detox can be very, it could be not tolerable. And detox needs to be tolerable, of course. If it isn't, it just derails you. It's one of the things that just makes people fall right off the wagon. So then, in that case, you may need to eat some cooked food. Now, as far as which cooked foods, you know, there's good, better, and best, just like there is for the raw foods. Raw foods, there's the best ones, which are fruit. The second best might be, you know, the higher fat raw foods. That's second best. Your body can turn that fat into fuel, but that's not the best. You know, the relatively low or medium fatty fruits, that's going to be the best of the raw foods. Of the cooked foods, the best would be ones that you could eat them raw, but if you just steam them a little bit, it makes it so much easier to eat them, to get it down. The sugar content, you know, comes out. So that would be a good indication. You could eat it raw, like, you know, you take a peeler with some candied, you know, the yams, the sweet potatoes, and you just do that into a salad. So that's, you know, a regular potato, the sweet potato. But if you steam it for a little while, one of those Dutch oven things. I'm not talking about baking it, because now you're going from the good, you know, down to bad. Baking is just bad. Just remember that. So if you get one of those Dutch ovens where you can steam it, all right. So that's, you know, that's better. Then pasta would probably be very down on the list, only because now it's a processed food. Because we were just talking about foods that are natural foods that you could almost eat raw if you had to survive. You could eat potatoes. People in Ireland, when there was a famine or something, or all they had to eat was potatoes to survive. So then becomes a survival food. So these second best foods are also survival foods. But like I said before, surviving is not the same as thriving. So the pasta and the processed foods, if something is processed, and which obviously you have to cook it to eat it, that should be way at the bottom of the list. But there's root vegetables. That some of them you can eat raw, but some of them you have to cook. We're just talking plant-based now. We're not even going anywhere else other than a plant-based diet, because there's absolutely no need to. The whole bottom line is you got to get enough fuel, you got to get enough carbohydrates, calories. There are other ways to do it. I mean, some people will, rather than go to the cooked carbs, the potatoes, they'll get some coconut water into them, and the coconut water can supply some fuel for them. That's another way to do it. Dates it's a no-brainer. Everyone knows about dates, a concentrated source of calories, and obviously you don't have to cook them. Some people say yes, they've been steamed, and nuts get steamed to open them up, and the mangoes get soaked in something which is hot water, so it's not technically raw. Yes, it's still raw. These are still raw foods. They've just been processed in some respect, but they're still technically labeled as raw foods. That's why I can call myself an all raw foodist, basically. Even though it's technically 99.834 or whatever it turned out to be. For you, it's 99.9. It's doing better than me.
I doubt it, Don. I don't know.
But you get what I'm trying to say. You might as well call yourself, because the subject came up with vegans the other day, where there's no such thing as 100% vegan, because people who consider themselves 100% vegan, while they're walking around, they're stepping on insects, and not knowing it, but they're killing them. Or driving your car, you might be running over insects and killing them. That it's all about your intent. Your intent was not to go drive over the insects. It just happened because of the environment we're living in. So yes, you're still vegan. You're you can call yourself a 100% vegan. I can call myself a 100% raw foodist because I don't have a need to eat any cooked foods. Fortunately, I'm never in a situation where I can't find raw foods, even if they have to be, God forbid, apples. I will eat apples if I have to, but they're a temperate zone fruit, and we're designed for tropical zone fruit. So tropical zone fruits are what I go for first. Temperate zone fruits next, and then I've never, fortunately, had to go to any of the cooked foods in order to survive.
I mean, what we want to really do is provide you guys with some options. So Don just shared some options with you, and I want to share a few more. I mean, some of the ways that I've been able to stay raw is not confine myself in a little box and say, I can't drink juices, I can't eat this, I can't do all this stuff, right? I would much rather eat fresh fruits for my calories, right? And then I'd juice fresh fruits or roots, right? Like carrots. Everybody could find carrots. I mean, they're almost available everywhere in the world, right? If the potatoes are available, usually carrots are available, and guess what? Carrots are way inexpensive. And I'd rather juice carrots than bake some potatoes for my calories if I need to get them in there. Because another thing that we'll talk about, Dawn and I, in another video, is the nutrient density of foods, or nutrients versus calories, because some people may want you to believe it's all about the calories, man, but you know, I'm really in the camp of that it's not all about the calories. While we do need calories, and I'm not going to discredit calories, they're not the most important thing, actually. The nutrients are, if you want optimal health. If you just want to go out with a blast, like, you know, some people may want to go out with a blast and run 10K marathons and kick people's ass, that's cool, you know. I'm not that dude. You know, I also encourage you guys to, you know, watch people on YouTube that you jive with that have similar goals to you. And, you know, not everybody's a 10K runner. Some people want to live for maximum longevity and maximum amount of health. And that's why I'm doing it. So, you know, I'd eat fresh fruits, I juice vegetables, juice fruits, you know, which I don't have a real big issue with. It's not my first choice. I'd rather eat fresh fruits, in season, ripe, local, or get the highest quality stuff that I can at the time. You know, I don't have an issue with juicing leafy green vegetables and other vegetables. And yes, leafy greens, they don't have a lot of calories, but what they're lacking in calories, they make up for 5 times in nutrients. And I believe that nutrients are very important. And when you start juicing leafy greens and other vegetables, guess what? You take away the fiber, you concentrate the nutrients, but also the calories. You know, and add some carrots in there to ramp it up. Add an apple or 2 in there to ramp up the calories if calories are your main goal. So hopefully after watching this video, you've learned Don's and my opinion on raw is law, and in the end, basically say eat as much raw food as possible. Hopefully we've also given you some options to think about, to, you know, some of the good, better, best scenarios that you guys could choose to eat. You know, instead of just going for the pizza or going for the GMO cereal with sugar on it and all that kind of stuff. Be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel for further videos when Don and I talk about calories versus nutrients, because that's a big discussion, that it's not all about the calories, although they are important. And we're going to have a lot of other cool videos coming up real soon. So hopefully you liked this episode. Once again, my name is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. We'll see you next time. And remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always the best.